Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Politics. We got in the backdrop here, community forum in East Chicago, Indiana, addressing the nosediving home values due to this lead crisis, as well as the health issues and all that stuff. I'm here with Rhonda. How long you lived in East Chicago for?
All my life, so about 48 years.
And you just bought a home, what, like 10 years ago?
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to give exact numbers of what you paid for it and all that, but let's just say you'd say you're about $100,000 down in terms of what you bought for it. So for someone like you, what can you even do? Could you refinance? Could the bank help you?
There are no options other than just take the blow. I would like to have a mortgage reduction, but that won't happen. I'd like them to buy me out. That won't happen. Me having to disclose the fact that there's lead in my yard that I won't be able to sell. And I don't believe that the cleanup that they're doing is adequate enough to say that it won't come back or that they actually got it all. And they're only doing half of my yard. So I'm not sure how they come up with the numbers, but it can't be accurate.
So basically, through no fault of your own, the way this city was built. By the way, as far as I know, nobody, when they bought the home, in the mortgage or anything like that, there was any mention of lead.
Not at all. This was not disclosed to me at the time that I purchased, and this actually has been going on since I purchased.
And how high were the levels of lead when they tested?
Mine was, I believe, not 1,800. I think mine was 1,200 in the front, and they said 650 in the back.
So that's pretty well over the allowable limit.
Absolutely. And they have not come to check my air quality. They haven't checked. In 2007 or 8, I believe we had the flood. I had 5 feet of water in my basement. So all that was in the dirt is now in the house. I did remediate the basement by, using bleaching water, but we still get leaks, and the water still comes in.
Did they test your actual water?
They have not come by and told me anything other than the meetings that we have here.
So essentially, if we're being real, they poison you, and you're left for the home bill, the health bills, and all the whole bills.
Everything, even as far as our education is concerned, having to have special provisions just to be educated. And it's not fair. It's not right.
And I'm assuming, you don't have like 500,000 G's hanging under the pillow to make up for your home. I mean, most people here work long hours, a lot more than one job.
Yeah. I worked long hours, sometimes 12 to 16 hours a day. And so, it was my dream to have my own home, to be able to have my kids a place where, they felt comfortable and relaxed. And if I had known that this existed, I would have never bought in East Chicago. This is my lifetime home. So I feel, that I wasn't given all the proper information, that these things were hidden from me. And now, our health is all in jeopardy and things of that nature, and it's just not right.
And what do you feel about the current vice president who couldn't grace you with his presence down here? He did go to a white neighborhood that had a lead problem. He did go to a white neighborhood that had a tornado. He left the campaign trail. If we're being honest, it's possible that man could be president one day. It didn't seem like he really had much concern for this area.
I believe that he showed it, and I was one of those supporters that said fire him. It's no excuse not to address communities that you support. So no, I'm not. If he's president, I'll probably move out the country.
And lastly, would you like to see, whether it's the government stepping in or whatever, but these mortgages refinanced, help to people who, through no fault of their own, have lost? I mean, you're $100,000 down. Who knows about other people?
For me, because of the damage that is done and the ramifications of what's going on with it, I just would prefer just to leave completely, just to take the home and, forgive the loan.
When you take a look at the people you buried and the people that got raised here, and it's sad. It's absolutely sad.
I raised my children there. I'm raising my grandchildren there. And I was hoping that I would be able to leave that house to them, making sure that everything is up to par and investing in my home. And now it's not worth anything?
Well, we don't know. They took the test for that, and they said, "Now I got lead in the basement." Come from that flood in 2008, and so from 2008 on, plenty of lead in my basement. So you might want to stay there, but how do you do it?
My husband has Alzheimer's, and it would be so difficult to take him out of that house that's the only thing that he knows, and just yank him out and put him someplace else. We can't even afford it. I don't know what we're gonna do. This is terrible. Terrible.
Everybody around here, 9 times out of 10, have lead in their basement.
All right.
Because every time we have a big rain, your sewers bag up in your basement.
That's right.
Okay? And the lead is in there. And unless you have that block valve put in your sewer, you're going to continue to have the floods whenever it floods. If you think I'm kidding you, when it rains, the sewers are too small, so you get all this water backed up in your basement. We live by Riley Park, that's on 3, right? Now, when they came testing the soil over there, the house next door to me was very high in contamination. The door so down, it was high. Across the street was high, but now they tell me mine was not high enough. And I'm right in the middle of all this contamination. Now, how can mine not be contaminated?
I'm here with Ray. You've lived here most of your life?
I've lived in East Chicago for 66 years, and I've been a resident in the Superfund, where I'm at right now, about 27 years.
So you got your home tested way before this became a national story. Why'd you get your home tested?
Okay, I was approached by EPA. You know, they took samples in January of 2010, and then they sent me the results in April of 2010. My levels are, all levels centered pretty close to over 2,000 parts per million.
And the normal is what?
Well, the cutoff is 400 parts per million.
Yours were 2,000?
Yeah, mine was 2,000.
How's your health, sir?
Not that well, not that good. You know, I have all the symptoms of lead exposure. I was born in this area, you know. I got the left temporal lobe abnormality. I got the headaches, the migraines, the focusing, comprehending problems which are associated with lead exposure. Anemia. I got neuropathy. So, like, you know, like I fit the bill as far as exposures to lead.
How old are you?
I'll be 66 in July.
And when did you start having the most of these problems?
All my life. All my life.
How many of you have lived in Calumet, East Calumet, Riley Park for 20 years or more? Woo! That's over 30 years. Woo! 40 years. 50 years. Woo! 60 years. 70 years or more. Or more. So, go to 80?
I got a question. How many of you is this the first home in your family that's ever owned? I mean, your family's never owned a home before this.
We own them right here.
All right, that's amazing.
Okay. So what that says is then, this is your family wealth, right? And talking to a member of my church, Sister Graver said, I'm trying to leave something to my children, my grandchildren.
My biggest
Our
investment.
heritage, like you call it.
That's right, heritage, legacy. How many of you, for your family, that's your largest investment? Unless you got some stocks and bonds, or you in the billionaire class? No. How many folks in here in the billionaire class? Okay.
Off of what Maritza was saying, I don't know if everybody knows that the House Republicans have introduced legislation called Bill H.R. 861 that by December 31st, 2018, we'll dismantle the EPA altogether. So this is what we need to fight for. We need to get a hold of Donnelly, Todd Young, Holcomb, Wislowski, Copeland. This is something that we need to fight for. I mean, this isn't something that's happening in East Chicago. This is something that's happening in every industrialized city across America. And if we don't come together now, it might be too little too late. And we need to come together and we need to fight.
Yes, sir.
Could you say that bill? Could you say that bill one more time?
Yeah, Bill HR 861, introduced by the House Republicans.
You talked about the other issues that they're facing in terms of the Superfund site and the contaminants.
Sure.
What is the national medium home value in America?
I have no idea. However,
You should have
I will
an estimate.
after today. I love questions like that and to that extent. But let me say more importantly, what I am familiar with is the impact that Superfund sites have on land values. And nationally, the average is somewhere right around 10 to 15%. I have done that much. And,
So national home
yes,
value
sir.
in America is over 200,000. That
Okay.
means there are just as many people who own homes above 200, it's around 217, as those who live below. What's the medium home value in East Chicago? This is your district.
So the entire county is my district.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't come
All right, so the
prepared with the
median
median
home value in
in
Chicago is between 55 and 65,000. We're already 1/4 the national median value before the impacts of the Superfund site. We also, and a lot of that has to do with the industrial heritage that we have here, the impacts of industry. So we're already depressed enormously. So most homes in America have recovered their value after the recession, right?
I would say that'd be fairly accurate.
Chances are
Sure.
the values in East Chicago haven't recovered from the recession. The bottom of the market has not recovered like the middle or the upper level. So we've been hit multiple times, and now you're hit again with the Superfund. So that seems to be a fairly accurate description,
Which one?
what I just described to
So
everybody.
a couple points I wasn't aware of, and you've shared with me, so I'll take your word for it, because
Okay. And then you
I'm
can
sure
correct
you're
me later.
factual. No, I wouldn't dream of it. I'm
All right.
sure you're factually informed. Thank you. The gentleman here had a question.
Yeah, so I want to know, when people buy their homes, or in the West Calumet complex, which was the first one here with...
Yes, sir.
Now, isn't there laws that they need to be told if you're right next to a lead plant, or you're right next to an insecticide plant, or you're at risk for toxins or anything like that? Because now, when they're trying to sell their homes, including that one I interviewed today,
Menezes.
sorry to
Okay.
put you on spot, they have to inform the people. You have to disclose. I've done, at this point, dozens of interviews. There's not one person I've spoken with who had any disclosure to them about the industrial risks, the lead. The EPA knew about this. I know you don't have the answer to all of it. The EPA knew about the levels here dating back to the 1970s. So you spoke about the law. Well, what is the law on that? Because I think by law, none of these people were informed of any of the risks or what they were living on.
So I can answer your question very simply. As you are aware, and which is why you probably asked the question, the law does require full disclosure for a person selling homes. To that extent, I've done a little research also. So the EPA started in 1972, and I guess the irony of that is that the West Calumet housing complex was built in 1970. So I would agree with your assessment that EPA absolutely was aware of it. But to that extent, those are just my opinions, and unfortunately, I'm not qualified to speak very much beyond that.
But what
on
I'm
the
asking
EPA.
is, people were moving into West Calumet complex a long time after 1972. And I've spoken with people that there was nothing in their lease agreement, anything like that. And it's not just West Calumet complex. I mean, you have people living next to DuPont, next to other plants, not a word.
So I understood that point, and thank you for clarifying it. I just not quite
I'm
sure
asking
why,
you
what you're asking me, and
Well,
what is it you want me
if there's
to?
disclosure laws, and it wasn't disclosed, isn't it on the banks, on the mortgage companies?
So, you know, I'm not an attorney, and I wish I was. That's a legal question, sir. Yeah. and
Oh,
it's-
no, I'm asking because at the beginning you mentioned the legal aspect. You
I
can only
meant-
talk about the
well,
legal.
I spoke to legal aspects as it related to assessments.
Okay.
Right, nothing outside of that, as I profess not to be an attorney, but as it relates to assessment law, I'm fairly versed on that, yes, so.
But there are disclosure laws.
Absolutely, that's a real estate law.